All right. Our number two, the second personality type that we find as a red flag that we also deem uncoachable. We call this one the historian. This is the person who is deeply attached to the past. They really believe that resolving their past is going to help them with a solution in the now. They also don't ever, though, really want to move forward. It's almost like their past is more important and their patterns are more important than the actual progress they want to make in the here and the now. So it's almost like this endless loop that never really ends. So I see you thinking, tell me a little bit about what's coming up for you with the historian.
Oh God, the first thing that comes up is Bruce Springsteen's song Glory Days, and the person who the high point in their life was pitching a no-hitter in high school and they've never progressed beyond it. And then having just seen the new Superman this weekend, the other thing it reminds me of is the conversation that Pa Kent has with Clark when they're at the farm after Clark learns his parents were sent him to Earth to dominate humanity rather than to serve it. And Pa Kent says, "It's your choices that make you who you are," and sets the tone for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
So our
So
choices
this
here
can
and
be,
now.
yeah, and so this can be really tricky, right? Because I think definitely as a coach, the past is going to come up, and sometimes the past is relevant to what is happening now. But how do you spot as a coach when reflection becomes rumination?
It will tend to stay there. It will all be about the past. And I did this, I did this, I did these things, I did all this, and it's impacting me because versus the person who I say, so this happened back then, and this might be part of the reason I am the way I am, but I realize it's not serving me anymore. And they're willing to open that lens of perception and maybe even consider how that experience made them stronger. If we play with the idea that everything is here to serve us, even the challenges in our childhood help make us who we are today, the person who is uncoachable in this space will be locked in that they were defined and have been defined since that point in their childhood or somewhere in their life, and that nothing will change after that because this event or series of events are so um, important in the formation of who they are that without them they would no longer be the person they are, even though they're miserable.
Yeah, and it's interesting because as a coach, right, I think we want to at least take the opportunity to challenge that belief, help them sort of understand that the understanding of the past can equal change in the now and the future. And is there it when that doesn't happen, how do you sort of how do you if you've now tried that, you see that really their past and what has happened to their past is what defines their now, and that's really all they are interested is understanding the past to define what the now looks like versus how to change the now. How do you step away from that with with that client?
I think what I would start with is going back to what I said with number one. Why are we here? If your present and your future are so set in stone from what happened before, why are we having a conversation to have a different carving? That would be the first one. Um, if they're not willing to look at that, we're not. There's no way for us to progress forward because if there's no change to be made, we can't be of service to that individual. And then you just need to think about that for a second. The person who's willing to look at it and reframe it, and maybe it's as simple as asking a question of, okay, so that's what was that brought you now. What do you want from this point forward? And maybe that's a way to crack some of the attachment to the past and get a lens on how living based on who we were doesn't necessarily create who we want to be. And if they're not willing to look at that, there's no reason to engage in any further conversation.
Yeah, and that's a great point. And I really think that there are times when that happens. We don't realize the historian is the historian. And then after a few sessions, we realize they are, and they really just aren't right now in that place to be coached. And I'm going to ask you another question, which of course is just variance in opinions. It's not right or wrong, but is there somewhere in that that maybe, as you see, they're not in a place to be coached at this time? Maybe they would be more benefiting to a therapist, and that's where you sort of draw the line and say, hey, it sounds like being in this past is important, and I feel like that maybe that's something you would prefer to explore with a therapist, or maybe there's something there.
Yeah, particularly if those events have a lot of emotional impact and trauma associated to them, that because they were so intense, whether it was one super intense event or it was a series of events that were similar that reinforced that perception over time, um, if they are so locked up that they need to talk about it happening back then versus how it's impacting now, that is space for therapy.
Right. So there you have it, guys. Our number two pick for not coachable. The uncoachable is the historian. We hope you gained some insight here and can pick and spot a historian much quicker than maybe you were able to before. We'll see you in the next one.
See you in the next one.